I prayed a simple prayer: God, I need your help. Welcome to Words That Ordain podcast. Today's episode is for those that have been the burro in their lives. That's right, I said burro, the donkey, the workhorse. 5 years ago, I recognized my burro state, and life had become pretty much unbearable. My marriage was struggling. My 3 older children were stuck in the middle. Things were falling apart. Everything was breaking down. My wife was struggling and stopped going to church. I had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in my lower back. I was in deep trouble and needed God to help. I've always been a believer. I grew up in a household of a Christian mother and a Christian father. My pursuit of Jesus just wasn't working. Please tell me what to do. So I began to pray. After I prayed that prayer, several days later, my father called and said that we were going to have a guest speaker the following Sunday night. I had no idea what God was doing, but something on the inside of me said, I have to be there. My wife has to be there. Our children have to be there. Now, there were a couple of conditions that she laid out before we got to church. First of all, she said, we're sitting in the back. I said, okay. Second condition was, nobody's touching me. I said, that's fine. I'll sit on one side and the children will sit on the other. You'll be protected. No one can touch you. So we finally made it to the church. We walk in and pastor's putting up the speaker as we walk in the door. Now the beautiful thing about this service is if we really begin to put our trust in God and believe that He loves us enough to take care of us and make ways for us, then God can begin to move. But again, we have to activate our belief, our trust in Him. So as we sat down, the preacher got up and he began to preach a word from God Himself. I'd never met this man before in my life, and he began to preach every situation that I had encountered over the past several months. Every issue, every concern. I was genuinely surprised as he began to preach and to share each of the events that I had gone through. And by the end of the message, I knew that God had heard my prayer and sent this man from San Antonio, Texas, to deliver a word specifically. You put your trust in God, your life will not be the same. So I encourage you on today, stop being the burro and let God bear the load. He said, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Thank you for spending some time with me as I just share a portion of not only my life, but portions of the scripture for our. So I began to make plans on how to make that happen. Due to the fact that my wife was not, I repeat, not going to church at the time, I knew it was going to be extremely difficult. That afternoon, 5:30 came around, and there was no movement. And mind you, church starts at 6 p.m., and there was no movement. So I waited for my wife to get ready, 5:45, and there's still no movement. But this time I knew we were going to be late. My heart is beating. So I really didn't want to ask her and make her upset and then just not show. I finally asked her. So I waited until 5:50. You're planning on going, right? She said yes. Well, it's too late, she said. Then she said, what time is it? Well, it's like 5:55. There's no need to go. I said, no, we said we we're going to go. Just go ahead and get dressed and we'll just be late, but we'll go. She said, that's okay. Praise the Lord, she decided So as she prepared and got ready, hopped in the car, we went to church. Thank you for spending this time as we take a look into the events of some of the things that I've gone through. Thank you for spending your time as we thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this cast and pray that you would be encouraged. And if you like what you hear, come back again. We'll have some more for you shortly. And we are looking for God to not only bless you, but to elevate you so that you begin to let God be your God and no longer just sit on the sidelines of life, but to let God participate in making you into what He has called each of us to be. So we bless you and we pray the Lord keep you. So we bless you and pray the Lord keep you. Thank you for it's not our duty to bear the load. We don't have to be the burro. We don't have to be the donkey or the workhorse to bear all of our burdens. We can take our burden to the Lord and we can ask Him for help. Don't even have to get fancy in our prayers. We can just simply pray, God, I need some help. And then we can believe in our heart that God has heard our prayer. Jeremiah 33:3 says, if we would just call upon Him, He will hear us, and that He will do great and mighty things amongst us, which thou knowest not. That last part, that night, not only did I find deliverance and hear a word from God, but also my wife received deliverance as well and was able to give God praise, to lift her hands and magnify God, and the burden was lifted. Since that day, our lives have... So I waited until the day of the event, and with great hesitation I asked my father to invite my wife to attend the evening service. And thank the Lord she agreed.